And we are back with another Black with No Cream podcast. New episode every single Sunday. I'm your host, Ben Haggerty, a.k.a. Ben Realverse World. And today we have Mr. Matt Sokoler on the podcast. Soko Creations. He's a production designer. This is the person that, brings concepts to life literally. If you're watching a music video, a commercial, a photo shoot, and you see some intricate set being created, any of the space being manipulated, it's from Matt. Matt and his team take ideas and bring them to life. As a matter of fact, for this Black with No Cream Season 2 for the podcast, he created the beautiful set that I'm sitting on, the place where I interview everyone, the thing that I started in the kitchen in the apartment to having a legitimate studio that feels like it should be on TV. Matt created. So it was really cool to be able to have him come on the podcast and share his story and his come up getting into the game, how he became a production designer. Like, how do you even get into that? And what is that role? Being able to collaborate with other creatives, how to collaborate with directors and bring their ideas to life, how he does previs and being able to kind of share his concept to the team before it even gets created. There's so much that we covered. So I'm pumped that we were able to get him on here. He's worked with so many legends like Tyler, the Creator, Doja Cat, Tik Tok, New Balance, Nicki Minaj, Meg The Stallion, Oliver Tree. He's made a lot of really, really cool creative stuff with Oliver Tree. And like a ridiculous Rolodex that just never ends. So go check out his work. Get hyped for this episode. Before we hop into it, I got to tell you about the Black with No Cream community. If you're not a part of it, what you doing? What are you doing? You should join us. It's a community of creatives from all walks of life, all over the planet, coming together to motivate each other and share ideas, give tips and tricks, and share processes behind their projects, or just befriend one another. And on top of that, people are sharing job opportunities. We're doing live streams in there, interviewing and talking to different people, doing group hangouts, all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't joined Black with No Cream, you got to go do it. BWNC.com/join. Use code $1 to get in for $1. $1 freaking dollar. What can you buy for $1? Nothing. You can't even get a freaking Kit Kat anymore for $1. That's unfortunate. But you can get Black with No Cream, and that is fortunate. So join us, and I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to say thanks so much for listening to this episode. Thanks so much for listening to this entire season. Everyone, all your comments, messages, the love and support for this podcast coming back has been greatly appreciated. I'm glad that people are gaining a lot of knowledge from listening to these episodes. So we got a lot more coming. Hang in tight. Hit that freaking subscribe button, and we'll see you next Sunday. All right, let's go to the podcast. Matt Sokoler in the house.
Hey,
First podcast, first time.
first time.
Is it more of a flex that it's your first time doing a podcast at the Canon headquarters, or is it a bigger flex that it's your first time doing a podcast on a set that you built?
I like both of those. I mean, we're at the Canon headquarters, so that's kind of a big deal.
And you fucking built this insane design. You designed this insane thing, dude. Like, this is like my favorite thing on the planet right now.
I'm so glad that you like it.
I do. I'm really pumped. I'm glad that we did this because I know this was mad last minute, but I was like, yo, like when we were just sitting here staring at this, I'm like, how the fuck? How does he think of this shit? How does he think of this shit? Also, how does he think of all the other things that he's ever made ever in his life? I'm like, we gotta like run this back on this story because I'm a big fan, and I feel like the world of production, there's our audience, right? A majority of my audience, I would say, is like shooting, they're interested in directing, producing, whatever.
Sure.
All those people oftentimes work with people like you, and I've almost got the chance to work with you before this on, we were going to do a Battlefield video.
Oh yeah, the commercial.
Yeah, for with EA, and I was so like working with you was such a breeze. Like I think Sandler connected us, and just right away, me telling you like the initial idea I had, and then all of a sudden you sent me like this render back, like with the cameras like moving through the shit. I was like, yo,
It's all about visual stuff, like so people can see what you're seeing.
It is, yeah.
If they can see what you see. Makes it a lot easier to bring things home.
Yeah, I love that. I if you had to describe yourself when people do ask you like what you do, how do you say what you do? Because I also know that you play music. So
oh man,
when you nutshell it.
Well, I mean, as a production designer, you're in charge of the whole look of everything that's on camera that is not related to the talent and the actors. So if it's on camera, it's your responsibility. We do special effects, we build sets, we do props, all that kind of stuff. So.
We were just talking about your website and like you're remodeling it, but I was just saying I like it because there's just like it just seems to never end. Like your client list and all of the past jobs just never fucking go anywhere. It's just constant.
Well, also like we like to work with the same artist a bunch, so you'll see like 6 videos from the same artist, or like, you know.
Does that tend to have? Do you feel like you build that relationship? Like, is that pretty common that the artist or the artist camp like builds a relationship with you because you're dialing in their look, or they're like,
yeah, I mean that happens a lot of the time. A lot of times it comes from like working with the production team. So the producer brings us in, and it's all the same team. So it's like, you know, it's kind of like summer camp, and we all get together to make a music video. It's like the same crew. Everybody knows how to do it. Even if you go a little bit longer than usual, it's fine. Everybody's like, we're chilling. So yeah, but then like sometimes the artist will like, their camp will reach out and say like, hey, we're doing a tour like in a couple months. Can you help us out with that? And that's like separate. So you kind of get in with the artist and like start to work with them on that level directly, and like build like their look for their tour, or for, you know, another kind of video they want to do or something.
Yeah, I feel like it's always like a really exciting part from the person's side that's getting the thing, like their initial idea put in your hands, and then you're really taking it and bringing it to life. I feel like that's like a special bond that it does take a lot of conversation and like effort on both parties to be able to get there, because sometimes I feel like, and I'm sure you've ran into plenty of clients that are very lazy on that side, where they're like, yeah, we just need something that kind of looks like blah, 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 make it. And then you are just starting from scratch with really no real like direction, right? Like, have you dealt with that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that happens a lot. And that's like a fun challenge too, because then you get to like kind of dig into your own you know, references that you've pulled up, or like find some things that have inspired you over the years, and like, okay, well maybe we can take it this direction. I've wanted to do something like this, or I have some stuff like this at the shop that would be like perfect for this, and we can kind of build around that. Or like talk to your client and say like, well, okay, what's like the main element you want, and then like get a couple buzzwords and then just build it from there. Just like whatever inspiration can take it to the next level, just kind of build it.
I'm curious, like, I know you've built like a team and you have your people that you go to and you work hand in hand with them. You have your own shops in LA that you guys are always at, and you're like curating and fabricating and doing all these things, and just, you have probably your own war room. And I want to get to like where you've been at and your growth now, but I'm curious kind of how you got started in this shit. Cause like, it's so expressive, and it's like real art, but also carpentry, and there's like also like fucking science and shit to me.
Jack of all trades, master of none. You got to kind of know everything.
For real.
A little bit of everything.
But where did this come from? Like, where start off, like kind of give me a run back on like your childhood, like where you're from, like how you got into the art scene. All right. We're going way back.
We're going way back.
Yeah,
all right.
real.
Well, I was born in the Midwest, in Minneapolis. Shout out Midwest.
My neighbor.
Yep. Moved to Vegas when I was like 5. So I spent some time in Vegas, and then I moved here to LA, to the Valley, in like 5th grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've been here for like most of my life.
Nice.
Yeah.
What when you got in here, like why were you moving so often?
My dad worked in like entertainment. He was on like the broadcast side of TV.
Cool. So you kind of had some
sort
of background with that?
A little bit, yeah, but that's not really where I started. So like, I finished college. We'll skip all the way to college. So I finished college, grew up, finished college. And then I was able to get a job. One of my friends was an art department coordinator working for like a pretty prolific designer at the time. They were doing like the Party in the USA videos with Miley Cyrus and like Rihanna swinging on the swing, like those videos.
Right.
Like some iconic stuff from back in like the 2010,
right.
9, 10.
Yeah.
So I hopped on with that crew as like an art PA, like knowing nothing, like just dropped into set. Here, just age these walls up, dress this out, like make it look great. We're gonna take off. It's like I got thrown into the mix like really quick, and like, oh, you got to learn on your feet, just like starting from nothing, not knowing what a grip is. I don't know I don't know any of the rules,
right?
So just kind of got thrown into that, did that for a little bit, and kind of worked my way up. I was set dressing, doing some music videos, some commercial stuff, and then I went to work on a Disney pilot. And so I went to Disney. We did a pilot. And then that got picked up. So I started working on that show as like an office PA, just like starting in the hub, right in the brainchild, like learning every department from the inside out, kind of figuring out where I wanted to be. Like I did a few months as like set dresser and like art PA for like the music video stuff. But then I was like, all right, well, I'll take a full-time gig and like kind of figure out, what this world is like. So I did that for like 5 years, 6 years. Yeah, I worked for Disney for a minute, like just worked my way up to, I was eventually like an art department coordinator. So I was doing like graphics and, doing all the design for props and wardrobe and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I got like a lot of experience in like the real world setting.
Right.
Like, oh, we're on a big budget TV show. Like we need all this and this.
But
I got in the union.
When you, you just ramped it. So when you say that you like that first time you got that job, like, were you like curious into this at all, or was it just like your friend just like kind of was like, yo, come through and this will be cool. But like, or why did you even take that job? Like, it's just a random ass job to be taking out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like an art PA job. Like
yeah. And then to be like, age this wall, I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, what do I do to do that? You know what I mean? Like, you had to have some sort of curiosity, I would imagine, into that, or was this person that you were friends
so like
with?
I've always been a musician too. So like I've always been I always wanted to do like music videos and get into that world a little bit because we were always just on the music playing it side. So we would play shows and whatever. Didn't really think about that kind of side. But then when the opportunity came, it's like, oh, maybe I could go into this. I knew I wanted to like be in entertainment in some capacity. I just didn't really know.
Yeah.
So that's why like I always tell people like start as a PA, like learn from the beginning, like the bottom, like what everybody does, and then you can kind of figure out where you want to be in that situation.
Yeah. Do you remember seeing anything at that time, like when you were doing those grunt jobs and you were just kind of paying attention, you're like almost a fly on the wall? Do you remember seeing anything from the different parts of set that kind of attracted you to this, or were you just kind of flowing with it?
I mean, I really liked art department, but like honestly, I didn't want to be a production designer back then.
No?
I was like, I don't want to be sitting at a desk like making renderings, and like I want to be on set and like getting in there.
Yeah.
And like now it's the opposite. Like I just want to I want to
Just always
design.
stay at home.
Yeah, I'll design and make things look good, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
Did the Disney thing like what were some of the projects that you were working on at the time, like that you remember that were kind of like had your stamp, or maybe you started getting like some sort of like, I don't know, like you're progressing quickly, but being able to have your stamp on certain parts of the job or maybe the production or whatever it may be? What were some of those that you were working on?
So they kind of started deferring to me for all like the hand art stuff. Like, oh, we need a painting of this actor, or we need like a prop with like Kyrie Irving on it or something because he was the guest that week, like stuff like that. So like I'd be taking photos of like the talent and photoshopping and like kind of started there.
Would you get a lot of time to do that?
That's kind of what like they just made my job. They're like, oh, this guy's really good at like art stuff. Like let's let him gravitate. So like I didn't have to do his like script copying, and I was really lucky. Like they had a person to do that kind of stuff. So
who's like calling that shot, or like also how do you manage that? Because I'm assuming, was it just one show that you'd work on, or is it like all like anything?
Yeah, I was just on one show.
It was just one show.
Yeah.
So you're just the main person for that. What show was it?
So I started on a show called Kicking It. It was a show about kids who do karate in a dojo, but are also like best friends.
Sick.
Real wholesome stuff.
Did it do well? Was that was a Disney show?
Yeah, we went 4 seasons.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I spent 4 seasons on that show.
And it was always like rotating special guests and random things like that. So they're always trying to cater to whoever was, I guess not art wise, like I'm sure there's all kinds of different things, but stuff like that where someone comes through and you're trying to find a way to like add them into the scene or bring them into like a prop or a set. Is that common?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was all on the writers. I would get the script and I just read through and be like, all right, cool. We need one of these. We need something like this. We need a poster that says such and such. That's like part of the gag. It's like kind of bringing the joke to life.
Right.
So like the writers will write a bunch of stuff and you'll read it and you're like, how do we like make this visually funny with like the props and the movie posters, like whatever the joke is about, how do we sell it for the writers with like the physical prop? Because they're not writing like what the physical prop looks like. They're just writing a joke. And it's kind of on us to like take it from there. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
How many people were you working with to do that?
Like the whole crew?
Yeah, like when you had to like within your team, like if you're like, all right, what if we did this, or they're maybe someone's pitching like what they wanted to do for the setup or how to make the room look like this, and then gave you the inspiration. Like was it a big crew or for one show like that?
Yeah, I mean shows like that have such big crews with such like specific departments. So there's a construction department, there's a production designer, an art director, and I was kind of working under them. And there's a props department, and there's a set dressing department, and there's a special effects department. So every department is very like localized.
Right. That's so interesting.
Yeah. So
I've never been on some shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird to start there and then kind of go to music videos
what the hell?
where it's like everybody's kind of doing everything. It's a non-union world.
Yeah.
It's like a little different, but it's good to have that experience and knowing like, well, this department's supposed to do this. So don't really like, mess with wardrobe, Were
you doing music at the same time? Because I know I've seen like on Instagram, you're always posting like you're with your band and shit. So was this like always, was that just like hobby that you were always trying to do? Or were you trying to like also still do music videos for the music you were making and stuff? Like, is that kind of help you get back into music video world or no?
Yeah. So like I was playing with an artist back in like 2010 when I first started working at Disney. We just kind of got going. And I was able to take a couple weeks off here and there to like go to South by Southwest or go on tour for a couple weeks and kind of do that. And then eventually, I think season 4 was like our last season of the show. I left the show like early so I could go on tour, and I kind of did that for like a year or so, just on and
Nice.
off, like touring and doing that kind of thing. And then I came back and I was like, hey, Disney friends, like, can I get a job again? And they're like, all right, yeah, we got another show. So I hopped on another show and I went back
tight.
for like a little bit. So there's some flexibility there. But yeah, like playing with an artist, definitely, and like as a musician, as like an art department guy, like that's where I kind of got my start, like production designing for like our videos. It's like, oh, well, we need to do this thing, but we have like no dollars, and like how can we get creative?
Right.
And also like our guitar player is a director, editor, and like our friend's a photographer, and we can come up with. So we did it all in house.
Yeah.
So it's like, what can you contribute, and what can you contribute? And like I just took care of the art stuff. So we ended up doing all this like wild shit that like most people wouldn't be able to just pull out of their pockets with no dollars, but we all kind of had that experience. And I'm in the film world and they're in the film. And so like we kind of were able to pull our resources and like make stuff that was cool just out of necessity.
Was that like, so if you're working for like a big company like Disney, and it sounds like all the resources are at your fingertips, like anything you needed is there.
Sure.
Budget's probably not that big of an issue. Like you could make stuff. Was it like going backwards to have to be resourceful, or was it so new in Disney World that not Disney World, but like being in the Disney world of production that like now you're being scrappy as shit? Like, was it like going backwards, like you were kind of giving everything and now you're going
yes
backwards?
And no. I mean, it was a step
it
forward
fun?
because now it's my art, and now it's like I wasn't just a assistant, trying to help the production. It's like now like we're creating this and it's on me to bring it home and like make it what it is.
Yeah.
So it's more of a responsibility. You have like, it's more on you to see the whole thing through,
Right.
as opposed to just like kind of helping the production move along.
So as that's like progressing, you're working, because you do what, 2 shows at Disney for 5 years?
I worked on a
duration?
bunch of different shows for like
really?
certain periods of time where we did pilots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was just, I was an art department coordinator at Local 871,
Right.
just like doing that thing. So I wasn't like the creative force or anything.
Yeah.
So that's when like the show ended. I think it was like 2016. That's when I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna like find my own path, go the full freelance, like just dive in. And
What made, just because the show ended, or was there like, were similar, like were other people doing this that kind of inspired you to do it, or like had you already had
no,
interest
it was just
in
kind of
production?
my path. Like I just wanted to get out and do my own thing and like try the freelance thing and
Right.
like kind of be on my own and not being at the same location every day for like 5 days a week, 9 months a year, like doing a season of TV.
Yeah. How was the
So-
transition to that?
I mean, it took a little while for like work to build up, and it's all about networking, like in every department, like just meeting. I had to meet a bunch of other designers that were in like the world I'm in now.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. We do fashion stuff or we do music video stuff. So I'd work for other designers for like a couple years, probably 3 or 4 years. I was just like working for other designers and learning and designing on my own too, picking up whatever projects I could pick up, building my network.
Yeah.
And like the more people you start to work with, you start to grow with those people. And so like some of the people that I met like 5-6 years ago, like on some of the smaller projects, like we've all grown together. So now we're doing bigger projects together. And we've kind of just like, I got all the day ones that like we all kind of came up together over the last like 7 years or so.
That's tight too, because it's like kind of pushing each other, but you also have that resource available. Like I feel like the more you expand your squad, and like you can kind of keep your people close, but like everyone can lean on each other, especially when it comes to like figuring out how to do a certain project or how to deal with certain types of clients. But the freelance game, I feel like, is definitely the open sea, and like jumping into it's kind of scary sometimes for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people that listen make that transition, right? Maybe they're working a full-time gig and they want to try to pursue it, but leaving is not always like the easiest thing because of whatever the fear may be. Maybe it's like salary, or maybe it's the safety net of health insurance, all that shit. But like going straight at it is never easy. What were like, I don't know, I guess what were some of the time, like the jobs that you were finding when you made that switch that felt like you made the right decision? That makes sense. Obviously your personal fulfillment and gratification of like, I'm going to go do this on my own. I'm going to make my own types of art and work with people, like various projects. But like, do you remember like some of the first early projects that you were doing at that time?
I definitely got a few like music videos and photo shoots for some artists through like production friends that I had and like producers that I had known, and just kind of started there. Like, oh, we have a photo shoot for this. Like, we need some props, and I'd be like, I can do that. I can bring the props in. So it'd start with small things like that, and then eventually, like, I'd be referred to other people. Like, oh, we have this music video coming up in a couple weeks. It's for this like up and coming artist, and I'd get involved with the development of like how we're gonna do that, and we'd start scouting, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So just the jobs kind of grew from like smaller things, and just it's all grown from there.
So when people come to you, do you start to like build? Do you kind of have like your own departments that you start to design? Like, are you starting to pull people in on certain projects that you know will help you get a job done to a specific extent? Like, oh, I have an idea for this, and these are the people I go to, and like I would recommend them. Like, how does it usually work when someone's hitting you up to find like crews, like to build out your crew to get a job done? Like, especially something like as a huge scale, like maybe it's gonna take up like a whole soundstage or whatever. You got to build a whole space. Like, are you usually a liaison, or are you always just brought in like as an independent person?
So I guess I come into the project once there's like kind of a defined idea of what the creative is. So I'll get a creative deck. It says, okay, maybe we want 4 setups. One of them's like interior home. One is, exterior somewhere. One's a spaceship, whatever. It could be anything.
Yeah.
And so then we'll kind of take it and break it down. All right, well, those are always my first questions. Like, well, where is this happening? What kind of sets do we need? What are we looking at? How much money you want to spend on it is like a big thing. Because then we can come up with like a realistic plan of like, how do we achieve this? How do we attack this from the beginning and like see it through and make it what you want it to be? Just a creative deck will come in. We'll just start talking, just meetings, just developing like how do we do this? Are there storyboards? Storyboards always help. Mm-hmm. So when I get an artist or a director who like comes in with an idea of like how they want to shoot this, that always helps. But it's a big collaborative thing from the beginning. Just developing like the visual aspect of anything is going to be a team effort for sure.
Obviously if someone's bringing you inspiration, but where do you find like your inspiration, or where do you feel like your ideas come from when it comes to this stuff? Like,
well, I mean, it's always about making the artist and the client happy. So it's what they want. So if it's a spaceship or something, we'll just look at a million different pictures and like, what's the era? What's the color scheme? What's like, is it like hard lines? Is it like really round? Like what do you see in this?
Yeah.
And then we kind of just collaborate and just build it from there. And then I'll just start sketching, and we'll just send sketches back and forth. And, sometimes a director will be like, well, I kind of see it this way. And then we'll just adjust, redo, send it. Here's second draft. Like, what do you think of this? Like, oh, that's a little better. What if we just like put a roof on it or something? There's a lot of different ways to just go back and forth and then land on something that everybody's happy with.
So when someone lands on the spaceship, right? Say you guys dial it in, then what are the next steps to actually bring that to life? Like, I'm just using that as an example, but like when you have to do that, is it like when it comes to truly building it and taking that and you overseeing it to make sure it's actually going to look like how you envisioned it? Like, how do you make sure that happens?
I mean, let's see. Let's use the Doja Cat video as an example. Okay, that's cool. Like a big spaceship video where we had a lot of practical sets,
right?
A full sound stage worth of sets, basically.
Right.
So for that, like I spent like 3 weeks probably just in design mode, just developing, just drawing, sketching, going back and forth with the director who was on the East Coast. So we'd get a lot of feedback, and then I'd go and I'd redraw stuff. And once we're in the kind of production phase is when I can have my construction crew start building stuff. And then like I'm there the whole time while they're building. So I can be gathering materials or like, sourcing flooring or just little things like that. And then I brought on a set decorator who would go out and shop for all like the little stuff like this, like stuff that's going to go on the walls, the stuff that's going to go like big pieces that might be in the background. And so with like that one, I ended up, even with like a big budget video like that, it's still not like a budget for like a spaceship from scratch.
Right.
So like I was able to source some spaceship parts.
From NASA?
And then, sort of, from a Brad Pitt movie, but close.
Really?
Yeah. Ad Astra.
Oh, yeah.
That movie. So I found all the spaceship parts from that. And I was like, all right, well, how do we take these pieces and then just build something totally around it? So like we took a bunch of pieces and I 3D rendered it all out. And it's like, okay, cool. We have these pieces that are this size. We need to build these ones to supplement it. And then we need to paint them all and like add stuff on it so they kind of match. But we're, making it a different environment using stuff that is available to us.
Damn, it's so fucking crazy. Is it I guess like when you start getting more and more jobs, you obviously start to build more connections, and there's different places around town that are going to have access to, like, you'll find that have the shit that you need to make these jobs. Like, how do you do that? And then also, like we talked about before, like if you were going to go shoot a fucking film in Arkansas, like how do you, obviously we're in LA, so there's a lot more here. Brad Pitt's fucking spaceships just like casually chilling. You could go pull that, right? Which is crazy. But like if you were to travel and go somewhere outside of LA, how do you usually work with shit like that? Like how do you guys do it?
Never done it.
No?
That's why I stay here. That's why I work in LA.
Really?
And yeah.
That's got to be insanely tough.
I can't even imagine going to like Nashville and like having to do like the same shit that we're doing here. Just because I don't know the the locale, you know.
Right, yeah.
I don't know where to go source certain things, so you kind of have to rely on local crews for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you're doing like a feature, so I've never done a feature, so I'm just kind of in the commercial music video world, and I try to stay here because this is where I started and know everything. And if we need something, we can probably source it in LA. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
So, but I'm, you know, it's a challenge. Like I'd love to go to Chicago and shoot something, you know, like I'm always down for that kind of stuff. It just hasn't come up yet, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you hold it down here, it's like you're going to keep progressing, but how do you build the relationships here to find all the places? Is it pretty
it's
like
just years of like doing it? Like I said, starting from the beginning as like an art PA, set dresser, you're the one on the truck. You learn where your designers got all the stuff for this job, and you drove around and you picked it up and you strapped it to the wall of the truck and you brought it in, you loaded. So it's like about doing that stuff and like learning from the beginning and kind of just learning where everything is available in LA. And eventually like, oh, okay, I need a piece like this. I can probably find that there. Like, there's a bunch of prop houses and things like that, and scenic shops and places that you just get to know over the years of like doing it and working with other designers and working with your team and sending people to places and trying out new vendors and learning about your graphics spot. I got to get graphics printed, you know?
Right,
so,
Black with No Cream logo.
Yeah.
Nice. I know, which I just touched for the first time yesterday or today on accident when I was doing the tour video. And I was like, oh, I just touched it. This is cool. It's like, is it I guess like when you were talking before, like you really wanted to be on set all the time. Like you were like, oh, I just always want to be on set. And then eventually you're like, nah, I kind of just want to like be behind the computer. Like, did you get all the reps in of being on set so much that eventually like you're just kind of like worn out on it? Or is it just...
I think it's just about a balance.
I'm going to stop the podcast real quick just for a second to talk about the illest thing I've ever done as a creative. And in my opinion, that was start the Black with No Cream community. Creating like an online place for creatives of all walks of life, whether you're just getting started or you've been doing this for 25 years, for everyone to be able to come into a safe space and connect with each other has just been so motivating. I see people share their ideas, provide tips and tricks. They're offering job opportunities. People are getting hired. They're connecting. They're building friendships, like real authentic friendships, by just being in this creative space together. It's such a cutthroat industry, and I feel like we're always just pitted to be against each other or to try to flex on each other all the time on social media and stuff. But this is not that. It's the exact opposite. The walls are down. We're all just with each other, like as if we were in some massive coffee shop, just shooting the shit. So if you haven't joined the community, I highly suggest you check it out. BWNC.com/join. We would love to have you in there. It's $1 for the first month. Come and say hi. We'll see you in the community. All right, let's get back to this podcast episode. Yeah.
Regardless, I think when I really wanted to be on set is because I was working up in the office and I was at a desk and I was doing a lot of graphic design. I was like, oh, I just want to be down there, like dressing sets and like. But it's good to have both. That's kind of why I like this, because like now I work at home a lot of days, just designing. Or I'm at my shop down in South LA and we're working and building and prepping and whatever. So it's good to have a balance.
How long have you had the shop for?
I've been down there I think I moved in January of 2021.
Okay, word.
So it's been a little while.
So what goes down in the shop? Like what do you use that for? And
so the shop is called Cactus Fabrication and it's owned by my buddies, and they started that shop like right when the pandemic hit. So it was like great timing to open a big booming construction shop. They do a lot of like events and experiential stuff, but production stuff was kind of still going on. Like events got shut down, so there's like nothing going on in that world. Right. So like I had some stuff going on. We needed stuff built. I had some clients that needed things made for whatever, and so started doing stuff with them. And eventually was like, oh, I might as well just rent some office space from you guys and I'll just be down here. And so I bought a cubicle and I had it set up in there and I started my office. So I just started out with like a little cubicle there and I would just get work done. If we were working on a project, that would be my like space to just like do my thing while they're like fabricating and building and I'm, handling the design aspect of the job. And then eventually I was like, I need some square footage here. So they expanded. And I decided, all right, well, it's time for me to expand too. So I got like, 700, 800 square feet of just like warehouse space.
Right.
It's where we store all our stuff, our walls, our kits, our, all our art supplies, our props.
Nice.
Everything. So it's kind of the hub where like we need our stuff. We go to the shop, we load up, we go out. If we need to build, if we need to paint, we got all that stuff there.
When you say we, who is we?
So I have a whole, I got a team. I have an art director, Devin. I have other art directors. I have set dressers. And, so just depending on what the job is.
Right.
It's usually me and Devin. We usually kind of like start from the beginning and see the job through and have all the prep days and go to the shop and pull what we need, paint our walls, do that kind of stuff. And then the team grows as we get closer to the shoot. So once you get closer to the shoot, then we bring on our set dressers. They pick up trucks. They run around. They grab all the props from the prop houses, come to the shop, load up the kits, like all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of prep work involved before you get to set and the set is built and like ready to shoot,
Do you feel like that you find like there's anything that you get called upon to design often? Like, is there any similarities in the work that you do? Like, as far as like, oh, maybe people like you for a futuristic design or going to space, or do you ever get coined into certain things like that?
Not so much. There's been a lot of variety on stuff. People like colorful stuff. I have a lot of colorful stuff. I love really like poppy, colorful sets.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of requests for that kind of stuff. Or people be like, "Oh, you do a lot of colorful stuff." I'm like, "Oh, do I? I guess so."
Yeah.
So I mean, it's always just about like what the director wants and what the client wants and what we all come up with together.
I love just when you look at your Instagram, there's just so many different like types of pieces that you made. I love Oliver Tree. Like when we started working on this, I think you were working with Oliver.
Yeah, he's like one of my favorites.
Like so like that is a perfect example of like having a relationship with an artist, right?
Exactly.
And that guy, from what I know,
and he directs everything himself.
Yeah.
He comes up with the crazy shit, and then we like plan it all together. Like, how we're gonna do this? We'll scout it. We'll shoot animatics. And like, yeah. So he's very involved, which is the best. That's what I love. I love artists that like give a shit.
Yeah. How long have you been working with him?
It has been just about a year, I think. We've done like 5 music videos or something. I did his tour.
Right.
We've done a bunch of stuff.
I think when we were working on this, you were like, "Oh, I have to go to Utah or something because I'm building like a glass horse or something."
Oh no! So we had a fiberglass cow that went on tour with him that he surfs like every night, and we were afraid that the cow was gonna break and we were gonna maybe have to reinforce its insides. Right. So that was the predicament we were in. So I might have to go to Utah and like reinforce this cow, but it was fine. They just sent it.
How do you figure out that type of shit? Like some of that's all physics, right? And like learning those things. Like, was there any sort of education behind it, or is this all just like trial and error?
I did not study this at all.
That's crazy. Is that common for most people in that lane?
I'm not sure. I mean, some designers go to art school and come straight out of art school and are designers. Yeah. But some people take other paths. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just spent a couple years just like paying dues and like learning what I wanted to do. Yeah. Because I didn't want to be a designer necessarily. Right. I didn't really know the different aspects of design as far as like, oh, this is what a sitcom designer does. And this is what the designer does in like the photo world or the fashion world or experiential. So there's like so many different aspects of design. So I didn't really know. So I just kind of learned from being on the ground and experiencing and working for other designers, and kind of eventually landed in the spot I am now. Just like, okay, cool. I think I'm going to take this to the next step and just design.
What do you feel like has been some of your favorite designs you've created, like over the years, especially like in the music video world, or even back when you were with Disney and shit? What do you feel like have been some standout ones for you?
I mean, some have been special because they've been artists that like I grew up with, and it was just like I got to work with Green Day and Weezer, and
that's
like meeting those guys is like insane. Yeah. And they're super humble, and they're just like really nice, and they've been doing this so long that it's like, oh, okay, cool. We know what we're doing. Yeah. There's no like fighting about anything. It's just like super easy, and everybody's easygoing, and like that stuff is great. Like I just did a bunch of videos for Panic at the Disco, and that was awesome. It was a great experience. It was like we did 6 videos in 9 days. So a lot of prep work went into that, but then it was like a team came together and we just raged for like 2 weeks straight on set, just like
getting it done.
Yeah, and it was one of those ones where, like I said, like everybody's in a great mood because everybody's on the same page, and everybody's just like, we're here to do this awesome shit. We're gonna get through it. We're making really cool stuff. Like everybody's very positive. And that's always like, that makes the best product for sure.
Was there anything that you guys built for those videos that like stick out to you, or that people, if they're listening, they should go watch it right now? Is there any like stories of like challenges?
There's a video for the song Viva Las Vengeance. That was like a big set build where we built these big triangles with lights in them and stuff. And it was like kind of a 70s game show type vibe. Kind of like The Doors kind of was a influence for like one of their sets. And so that was a fun one. It got a VMA nom. We lost, but it's all good. We went 0 for 3 this year, but it's all good.
0 for 3?
Yeah.
Have you gotten a VMA?
No, this is my first year with any nomination. So I had one that was like for me, like the best art direction for the Doja Cat one.
Dude, that's so sick.
Which was like such a cool thing to be like tapped for that. So
who won?
I think it was a Lil Nas X video that won that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
He's doing good. He's got some.
He's
good
doing
vids.
just fine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's always hurts a little bit when you lose, right?
Yeah, but just to be nominated is like
No, it's
plenty.
cool as fuck.
It was so much fun just to go and like be part of that and like watch the show and be there for it.
Do you ever feel like there's ever requests or like things that like that are stumping you? Like, do you ever get in a position where you're like, I don't have an idea or you know, like I feel like whenever it comes to like video, like creating videos and stuff, I may hit like a creative roadblock or whatever, and I just like have no inspiration. But like in this industry, it's literally like I need something. I'm gonna hit Matt. I need some like Matt. What do we do for this? Like, do you ever get into a spot where you feel like I don't know, like just not inspired, or you can't think of like what the concept should be, and like how do you deal with that type of shit if you do?
Yeah, I mean sometimes, but then it's just about going back and forth and collaborating and like building those buzzwords and like what colors do you see? Like what color do you see? What's the mood for this? Or you know, what's the theme that really makes sense for this? But like usually there's already a concept with like a music video or something or a treatment, and like this is what we're doing. These are the scenes. So, you know, there's always some basis to like build your creative off of, which is nice. It's not like we're just coming in with like, oh, we don't even know what the set is. Like, is it a doctor's office or is it like a mall?
Yeah.
You know, so at least we know like, okay, cool. Well, this first setup's going to be, you know, a ranch or whatever. We're at an exterior ranch. It's like, okay, cool. Got this. Like, let's take it from there.
Yeah.
So like, then we can start really like developing.
Right.
So it's not that it's not, there's not a lot of creative roadblocks with that when you're like given a specific setup or a concept like that.
No, I get that. Is it I guess if there was like any advice you could give to directors that are working on their visual and they're starting to work with someone like you, is there anything that you prefer directors do when they're trying to give you their creative vision that could help you take your shit to the next level or give you all the tools that you need to like build, aside from telling you the budget?
Well, budget helps,
right.
But like you know, a cohesive idea of what the video is going to look like at the end, like some sort of storyboards, even if they don't have the sets in them. Like obviously a storyboard's not going to have like the set design, but like if we kind of know what the shots are, it's a medium shot here where like this happens, or we're inside this and the camera pulls out and we, you know, whatever the camera moves are going to be potentially. So like working with the DP and the director always helps to like know what camera's doing and like where it's going to go and how long this shot is and stuff like that.
Is it pretty typical that you'll get enough time? Like, do you feel like you usually get enough time?
Oh, there's never enough time.
Right?
No? I mean, sometimes. It's rare.
You just got to apply for it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it
a lot of people will hit you up like, oh, are you available on Friday? And it's like Wednesday. And you're like, how am I supposed to prep anything before Friday?
What's your ideal scenario?
I mean, it depends on the size and the scale. Like it's always about scope and scale of like what we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
If it's a huge build, like we need lead time. So that always helps is to like, okay, cool. Well, we got a couple weeks to like develop this. And then there's a week of like construction or prep or whatever. If it's a video where it's like, oh, we're on location and we just need a bunch of props and we need to prop this place out, like those we can do with a quick turnaround. So it just depends on what the scope and scale of the project is really.
Yeah. You were talking about like getting more into commercials. Like what's that transition been like? And is it a different type of pressure dealing with like bigger brands like that?
Yeah, and you got agencies like throwing stuff in the mix all the time. So you have a client, agency, production, and then us. So it's just a lot of filters, a lot of things getting filtered through like from the top. So it's just a different dynamic a little bit. And there's, you know, more like, oh, we want to see everything in 3D ahead of time so we can see it exactly how it needs to. There's a lot of like more particular stuff because they can be more particular when they have the time and the money to be particular, which is nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's a double-edged sword.
Do you feel like that actually helps with like the end result, like getting there a little bit easier when they obviously have the resources like that?
Sure. And when there's like a little bit of push-pull, it always makes for a better product. It's just about how you go about doing that.
Yeah. Is it when you talk about like the programming, right? You've taught yourself all of this. What are like the typical programs? I'm saying this from anyone that could potentially want to do what you're doing. What are the programs that you like to use that help you get those designs made? Like, what are your go-tos? SketchUp?
SketchUp. That's all I pretty much use. I'm not really doing Vectorworks or anything like that yet. Especially for these kind of jobs for like commercials and music videos, like SketchUp gets the job done. And I can just run it through a render engine and make it look pretty decent. And send some stills over at different angles and size it up. And, you know, or like I sent you some videos, like you can do a video of like camera moving through the set. What I'd love to be able to do, and I don't know if this is a thing or not yet, but like VR, like put on the goggles and then you're in the set and you can like,
damn.
That's what like I think the future is. That's what I want to be able to do.
Yeah,
So
like Alex is snapping his fingers.
How do we make this so that you guys can feel like you're in it right now?
It's this lens.
Ah, there it is.
We keep talking about this, and it's so cool. And we're like, we need to shoot something with this lens. Look at Alex's standing ovation. But it is tough because it's like, yeah, how do you do that with being able to like, I've been in my Oculus game lately, just playing ping pong and shit. But I do think that there is a surrealism there where if you were able to see that and be able to walk through a space and like as a DP, as the director, like you're really able to like, damn, I didn't even think about that.
See, I'm visual. Like I need to see stuff. Like that's why I like to sketch it up and be like, okay, this is what I see here. This is the size.
Yeah.
Like when we did this one, like I sent it to you, like it's the exact, like I built the room out first. So
right.
it's like, okay, cool. I know the dimension. You were here. We're measuring the room. I'm like laser.
Yeah, he's got a laser and shit. I'm just like kind of talking
gotta
like
make
rambling.
sure it fits, got to know how far it is to the grid. And
you snugged it up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is like important too to like find, at least see it, because you can change so much in that moment. Like I felt like I had a good idea of like what I was going to walk into set on the day, and like for me to be able to take what you were showing me to be then talk to Franklin, like at that time for that Battlefield job, to show the DP. He's able to take it, be like, all right, cool, and really, really plan around what that vision is. But also you putting camera movements into it, for me, just made my life like, it inspired me on certain parts, because I had an idea, but I didn't know how I wanted to shoot it yet. Like I think I was so busy with the client that I hadn't even had time to see that. And then you literally just cruising through it. Like I was like, oh yeah, duh, we can fucking get steady in there and shoot
go
through
80 feet of steel deck, put the truss
Yeah.
up here. Yeah, if you know the distance your camera can move and all that kind of stuff, it helps everybody for sure.
Yeah, that's fucking tight. I if there's any advice that you have for someone that wants to follow in your path, like get into it, what do you often suggest? I know getting in there early is part of the game. And
Yeah, I mean, I always suggest like reaching out to other designers.
Yeah.
And trying to get work with them so that you can start and get some experience and get on the truck and like be on set and learn how things work from like day one to final day, because it's a process of like building a set or dressing a set. Even just shooting the whole thing is a process.
Yeah.
So to come in and be able to like learn how it works and grow with like a team is like the best way to do it. At least I think so. If you want to be a designer, you got to learn kind of how to design. You need to learn how to do everything in your department better than all the guys in your department. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to, okay, cool. I know how this truck loads. I know how, everything goes into set. We know the process, and just like learning from the ground up.
Yeah.
So like I said, I worked for other designers for years and like got experience like that. And like, I think that's the best way, is just working for other designers and like learning how they do things and learning from them, kind of like a mentor-mentee thing.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Do you feel like, is that usually the types of relationship it is when someone's trying to kind of get in there, or is it literal roles where they can kind of be a fly on the wall where you don't really have to notice them, they can just try to take note of you? Or is it something where, like, have you found that you would pull someone up or maybe show someone the ropes and try to do it in like a hands-on experience, like, yo, this is why I'm doing this? Like, do you ever do that?
Yeah, I've done that a few times with a few people. Like, but yeah, like it starts with just the first job that somebody does with you. You see kind of what they do, and you show them how you do things, and just build a relationship from there, and keep doing jobs together. I've had people that I've worked with for like years now that like, we first started, they were just like art PA or whatever, and now they're art directing their own jobs and production and designing their own jobs, and I pass jobs that I can't do to other people. And that's how it's been for me too. Like I've had other designers that have grown, and we've all grown together, and like, oh, they can't do this commercial, so I get it. And same, I pass down jobs to other people. So
yeah, that network is massive.
Yeah, definitely. It's important to network.
I know this was like a shorter episode, and I just was like, I feel like it'd be cool to hear from your perspective and like get an inside scoop on like what that's like to do this job, because it's fascinating to me. I have no design. I can't even draw a fucking house. It's like the shitty one, you know what I mean? Like the shitty one with the shitty windows are all oval shaped. But it's a crazy talent, and I think it's really fascinating to like see how you do this. And I just was so pumped to walk in here and see this shit. Like I've been on sets before.
I'm pumped to see it in person.
It's crazy, right?
Too.
I know. It's just, I don't know. I'm very happy. But I just wanted to pick your brain, man. I know it was just a random episode, but I was like, yo, you got to come in here. And I thank you for giving us some time to like walk us through it and just let me ask noob-ass questions, because that's what
Of course. Hey, I'm still figuring everything out too. I'm learning every day too.
Yeah. Are you still doing music?
Yeah. Sure am.
You want to drop some fucking plugs or what?
Well, I've been playing with the same band for like 20 years.
Holy shit, are you serious?
Yeah, it's my band from like middle school, high school.
Was that the band you were touring with?
No, I've played with a bunch of. So I used to do like hired gun kind of stuff. Like I played drums for Wang Chung, the '80s band,
Yeah.
for a second.
Tight.
Like one California tour. But no, I've just been playing with like my same punk ska band for like super long time.
Dope.
We would take like 8 years off and not play at all, and then like get back together for like a Thanksgiving weekend because everyone's in town kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now we're all just like in our 30s and we're like, let's just do this for fun.
Yeah.
So now we just do that for fun.
That's a great way to fucking get
Playing in Venice
up.
on the 26th. It'll be great.
There we go. Yeah. Dude, I know this was I appreciate you. It was last minute as fuck, so thanks for coming through.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna make you do this. You have to pick a hashtag. So I would tell everyone to go to your Instagram, which is what? Soko Creates?
Soko Creations.
Creations. And they're gonna put this hashtag, they're gonna tag me at Ben Reverse World. We'll both know that someone listened to the whole episode. It's magic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you want it to be?
Just anything?
Anything
Any
you want.
hashtag?
Anything.
Oh, man. It's a lot of pressure.
I know. I can't help you.
Hashtag Soko with no cream.
Solid. Fuck yeah. Go put it. Dude, I appreciate it, man. Thank you, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Tight. Yo, it's Ben. I just wanted to say thank you for listening to today's episode. We have plenty of episodes that have come out in the past, and we're dropping new ones every single Sunday for season 2. So make sure to subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening to or watching on. And if you haven't joined Black with No Cream community, what you doing? It's the best community for creators on the planet Earth. Go to bwnc.com/join. We would love to see you in there. Please join. All right. See you next week.